What's up, my fellow YouTube constituents, and welcome back to Peep the Game. I'm your friendly neighborhood house ninja, and I'm back with another video. And today we got GTA 6 10 Commandments. These are the things, in my opinion, that must take place for the game to be revolutionary and next level. So let's get right into it. Numero uno. The game needs to be smarter. And I'm talking about 1000x smarter. If you're a gamer like me, that AI catchphrase, that's where it came from, was from video games. Back in the day, they would always talk about the NPC AI, okay? But now, you know, all we ended up getting was a decision tree for the NPCs. And you could tell that they were dumb as a box of rocks, okay? So when online multiplayer came, it was a no-brainer, because we got sick and tired of playing with dumb NPC players. Game needs to be smarter, all the way from the NPCs all the way to the police, okay? I'm talking 1000x. You know, there's AI everywhere. That's the buzzword. So the artificial intelligence in the game should be way, way, way better, okay? Commandment number 2, thou shalt honor the pedestrians. No more running down, gunning down, and beating down the pedestrians that you see in the game world. These are real world people. They have backstories. I'm not talking about following them back to their house and they got a wife and kids at the house. But Rockstar, you should give them a backstory that their lives matter. All lives in the game should matter. You want to be running over pedestrians or beating up pedestrians, look this way and then look back and it's a blood stain or they're gone, okay? We need the realism to go through the roof in this game, in my opinion, okay? I don't want to play the same game we played 11 years ago or 13 years ago. We want to play something that's feeling new and realistic. I know it's a game, but you can still elevate the realism. So we're going to honor the pedestrian. There's going to be real repercussions for doing things to the pedestrians, which leads me to commandment number 3. All of thy actions shall be recorded. So nowadays, everybody's walking around with one of these in their pocket. So all the pedestrians are going to whip out their cell phones. If you're doing something criminal or you're beating up somebody, they're going to whip out their phones and they're going to record your actions for the police. Because I want real world repercussions in this game, right? So, and not only will the pedestrians have phones, cell phones, but you have the buildings, the businesses, they have cameras. We got flock cameras. We're going to have cameras inside the convenience stores, inside the restaurants, nightclubs. There's cameras everywhere. You know, I challenge you to go outside and try to fart sideways and see if somebody don't see it, smell it, or record it, okay? So everything is going to be recorded in this game, and it's going to be used against you. All right. So number 4, the combat system has to be upgraded. Okay, I'm talking about the fighting, and I'm talking about the gun battle. I'm talking about the cover system. I'm talking about when you go down the street and you bump into a pedestrian. I don't want grandma squaring up with me. I don't want grandma putting up her dukes or putting up her fist and saying what's up and acting like she gonna fight, okay? That goes back to rule number 1, that everything should be smarter, okay? Grandma's probably going to whip out her phone and call the police. She might, you know, fuss with you a little bit, you know, or, you know, have the people that's surrounding grandma, you know, now you're bullying, okay? Now the people around you are antagonizing you or jumping on you. You know, most people though in the world, they go out their way to avoid confrontation, but they will whip out their cell phone and record what you're doing. So I definitely want the combat. Now you have Lucia and you have Jason character. You know, Lucia's not going to fight like Jason can fight. And that goes for the NPCs in the world. They all shouldn't fight the same way. And that's what I used to see in the series back in the day was, you know, they all put up their dukes and they just throwing blows, trading blows with each other. You know, I want a real fighting system, real combat system. I want a real cover system during the gun battles. I want the game to throw down, okay? I'm talking about You know, when you fighting, you scrapping, I want that to be something that is like, you know, I don't want it to be like the UFC or something like that. It don't have to be that fleshed out, but give me a real combat system, okay? All right, moving right along. All right, let's talk about this. Thy money shall be harder to come by. See, just like the real world, I don't want to see a game where the player can keep running back to the same criminal empire and they always got work for them. Or, you know, you can keep making money going and doing these little jobs. They may not have no work. You might have to put in your own work. So I want to see it where the money is hard to come by. You might have to go ahead and invest in a ski mask. You know what I'm saying? You might have $40. You go get a ski mask and you rob in the convenience store with a knife. Whatever it might be, I want it to be realistic. Now you can have two different versions of the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about versions, but in the game you can pick, you know, arcade mode or simulation mode. You know, for players like myself who wants a real experience. I want my heart pounding and I want my actions in the game to be like, ooh, I better not do this because I'm gonna mess up my progress in the game, or I'm gonna do this. Which brings me to the next commandment. You shall suffer real world consequences in the game. So what that means is if you get busted by the police, you may have to go to prison. Okay? It may be a portion of the game that's, we're not talking about real, you know, the life time passes like, you know, the game time passes, but we're talking like you may have to go and go through something that's uncomfortable. It should feel like a punishment for losing the game, for getting busted. Same thing goes for if you get hurt or if you die in the game. You might have to go to the hospital and have a hospital stay. You know, now you're not making money. You know what I'm saying? You have to find a place to live and stay up and hold up until you get better. Give the game and give the player real world consequences. And then that brings me to number 7. You shall reap what you sow. So if you out here playing the game all nilly-willy and wild and crazy and killing people and running over people and beating up people, now the devil is in the details. Not only do you have the police looking for you, but now you have other people looking for the get back. So the game becomes increasingly harder. Now you can make it where, you know, you go to prison or something where it's a balancing thing where you can, you know, lose a little bit of the karma that's been built up against you. So it kind of, the game will start to become a little bit easier, or, you know, it won't be as hard. So like, let's say you go to prison, that may remove like, you know, XYZ of your karma. So now you come out and you're kind of starting over again. So definitely have a karma system in the game. All right, number 8. It should run at 60 frames per second. I've been hearing rumors that they're struggling to get the game to run at 60 frames per second. Now, if you ever played a game at 60 frames per second and then you tried to go back and play the game at 30 frames per second, the game is unplayable. Your timing is off. You can't go backwards. Trust me. So 30 frames per second is unacceptable. So the game must run at 60 frames per second. And that brings me to number 9. Thou shalt multiply onto the world. This is for Rockstar. You should multiply this game with however you got to do it. I know you're struggling with the frame rate, the graphics and everything, but the world should be fleshed out with characters, NPCs. I'm talking about, you've seen the trailers. I'm talking about the nightclubs is full. You know what I'm saying? You can barely move in a nightclub. It's at capacity. There should be bad traffic. The traffic should be backed up. You go to the beach, there's people everywhere. So that definitely must take place. You must multiply onto this world. Whatever technology you have to come up with to do this, to make this a reality, you have to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because now the realism is through the roof. We can't look up and see these little empty streets and all of that stuff. You know that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to go out here and you're going to be rubbing shoulders with people. Okay? That must be done in the game. And last but not least, commandment number 10. Rockstar, you shall deliver on the 19th. You must deliver. No delays. But I have a very high suspicion that the game, every time you turn on this game after you buy it and download it and install it, that you're going to have to update it. I guarantee it. Mark my words here from Peep the Game. House Ninja told you guys in advance that every time you turn on that game's going to have to be upgraded, because something tells me that a game of this magnitude, even though it's been 11, 12, 13 years, it still is not ready to go 100%. Mark my words. So, but you still have to deliver the game. I don't want it in a broken state, but it should be gold at this point. I don't want to see the game broken and then all of a sudden the new news flashes that it needs to be upgraded now because of something was broken in the game. And we don't want to hear on the 18th that moved it back to April 2027. Okay, so that's my rant. That's my 10 commandments. And thanks for stopping by, Peep the Game. Come back. I'm gonna play it on this arcade. That's what I do on this channel. And if you like what you see, like and subscribe. We keep it all the way live on Peep the Game. So come back through. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll holler at you. Peace.